Hello everyone, welcome to Wednesday, August 21st, Vlogust episode 15. Yes, and on this vlog, on today's vloggy episode, I want to mainly share all the details and all the information finally about my soft rose summer throw. It is one of my recent finished object, and many of you have so many questions about the summer throw, and today I'm here. I have everything that I need to share all the information about it with you. And when we are done here, we will go out to the kitchen to prepare something that many of you also ask for. We will prepare the coconut balls together today as well. I'm not sure regarding the rest of the day and how will I manage the vlogging today, because there is a guy that's supposed to come here later to fix something in the roof of our apartment. I am not sure if this is the first time that you watch my vlogs, my Vlogust, but if not, you remember that I think about 2 weeks ago or something like that, there were builders on the roof, on top of the roof of the building, making some work on the roof of the building. And this is because in our apartment and in our next door apartment, in the same floor, we had leaking problems in the roof, and now it is fixed. But in both apartments we will fix something inside in our place. It will be in the living room. So yeah, hopefully there is a sweet guy that we work with him for such jobs, so he's supposed to be here later today. So let's see how I will manage the vlogging today, and if my washing machine will be beeping, I will go to turn it off. It's the dryer, it's not the washing machine. But anyways, I think we can start talking about the soft rose summer throw. So let's go by all the notes that I made so I can, get concentrated and make it in order. I think I started to work on this throw on August. Yeah, this is the dryer calling me. Let me just turn it off. So yeah, now we will not have these beeping noises in the background. Anyways, the soft rose summer throw, I started to work on it on August 23. One of the first squares that I made were made of the kupa by mYak fibers yarns, and I tried to make something with it, and then eventually I came out with the soft rose square, granny square, which is a solid square that has like popcorn stitches in. It's a 7 round solid square with popcorn stitches in the corner in the 6th round, so in the round before the last in each square. And then I shared it, I think, on Instagram. Maybe it was Granny Square Day 23. I'm not sure, but I think it was then. And then many of my followers on Instagram reached out to ask if I can share the pattern. And also here the local makers wanted to start making this blanket. So I thought I will create a tutorial, and I do have a tutorial here shared on my YouTube from start to finish, how I crochet my soft rose squares. So if you are interested, this is not a written pattern, but it's a very easy where I speak English video tutorial where I share how I make my soft rose squares, solid granny squares. And this blanket is made out of 14 by 10. 14 squares by 10 squares. All of them are the soft rose squares. the size, so it's 140 squares in total, and the size of the blanket is 182 centimeters by 128 centimeters. Not sure how much it is on inches, but it is very easy to convert. And it is all made out of the Knitting for Olive yarn by the merino yarn by Knitting for Olive. And it's a fingering. They describe it in their website as a fingering weight yarn, but I think it's a light fingering weight yarn. And I worked it using a 3mm crochet hook. The name of the color is Soft Rose, and this is the name of the square and the name of the blanket or throw. I'm not sure how to call it. So if you have any recommendation, is it a throw? Is it a blanket? Anyways, for you it might be a summery item. For us, our winter is not that cold, so this lightweight woolly throw can be good for us also during the winter. Let's go back into the details. You see me, I just get carried away whenever I start to talk. Anyways, let's go by the notes one by one, the notes that I made. So the hook size is 3mm, blanket size I already told you, the yarn I told you, and I used 20 balls of the yarn. 18 balls I used for the squares and the joining, and 2 balls were used for the framing. And don't catch me in this, because it might be more or less the quantities that I gave you, but for sure I had 20 balls. And just one word about this quantity of yarn. If you have to know your tension. If you crochet loosely or tightly, you might need to order a little bit extra. So if you crochet loosely, if I were you, I go ahead and order maybe 21 or 22 balls. But I used 20 balls in my blanket. Each one of the balls has 50 grams and 250 meters, and each one of the balls made 8 soft rose granny squares. So I made 8 squares out of one ball. Each square measures 11.5 centimeters by 11.5 centimeters. My gauge was 24 stitches on 12 rows for 10 by 10 centimeters, which is 4 by 4 inch, measured on a double crochet stitch after blocking. And I closed each of my squares using the invisible join. It is also a tutorial that I have here on my YouTube channel, so I don't use the slip stitch to close the 7th round, the last round, but I use the invisible join. And yeah, I have tutorials. And for the joining, I used, after I had all my squares done and closed with the invisible join, and then I weaving all the yarn ends on all my squares, I started the joining. Just a sip from my coffee so I can continue. And yeah, and when I joined them using the front slip stitch method, which is also a tutorial that I have shared here on my YouTube channel. I will link all these tutorials down below in the description box for you. After I joined all the squares, I'm not sure if you remember, but at first I thought I will have a throw made out of 12 by 10 squares. And when it was all joined, I spread it on the bed, and on our bed, and it looked too small for me, so I ordered some more yarns from Knitting for Olive and added 2 squares to each row. So I had to rejoin some yarn for this, for the joining, for adding these additional squares. Yeah, and then when it was done, I was very, very happy and excited to start the framing, but I didn't have any idea what will it look like, because at first, when I started to make this blanket, I thought the framing will be 2 rounds of double crochet stitches, following by 2 rounds of single crochet stitch, and ending with a slip stitch. I thought the single crochet stitch will be worked for the back loop only, and then ending up with a slip stitch round to the back loop only of each round, which is something that I usually like to end up my blankets with. But then I started to work, and I thought, to be honest, when I joined it all, I thought it needs another detail of interest in the framing. So I made quite a few of trials and ripped back quite a few times, which I deeply enjoy in the process. I'm completely a process knitter, process crocheter, whatever you call it. I don't really wait to have the final object. It's very rare that I want to have the final object. I think it was with this scrappy t-shirt that I was waiting for the final object to be ready, but I love and enjoy the process. So for me, I'm not afraid of ripping out, ripping back, try again, look, take picture, try again, rip back, and remake something from the first. So this was this case. I started with 1 round of double crochet stitches, where this was, this is my go-to after you join granny squares that are made out of double crochet stitch. I usually like to frame them. Start with framing them with 1 round of double crochet stitch, and I just want to show you that in this first round of double crochet stitches, I made a double crochet stitch on top of each stitch, but also made 2 double crochet stitches in each of the corner spaces and 1 double crochet stitch inside the joining ridge. So I really hope you can see it. And then I started to crochet the second round of double crochet stitches, because this is something that I also usually do, but I didn't like the way it looked. It looked not, I don't know how to say, it looked flat. So I decided to move on to single crochet stitches, and then I don't remember if I made 1 or 2 or 3 rounds of single crochet stitches into the back loop. The first one is not made into the back loop, but the next 2 are made into the back loop of each stitch. So you can see it creates, let me show it to you more carefully. It creates these like embroidered line with the remaining front slip stitch, because you only use the back loop of each stitch. And then I thought this is it, so I made I think I made a round of a slip stitch to the back loop, and then I ripped it back and decided that I want to add some detail for some interest. So I made these puff stitches, clusters. This is a cluster of 3 puff stitches with chain 2 between them. The puff stitch is yarn over twice, so you yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, insert your hook. So it's like 2 times inserting the hook into the stitch, and this is how you create the puff stitch. I think I also have a puff stitch tutorial shared here on my YouTube channel. And then a slip stitch into all the other stitches in the round. But I made these puff stitches only on top of the joining ridge and on top of the middle of each square. So to be honest, I didn't count the stitches, but I I made it based on visual decisions. So I made one cluster of 3 puff stitches on top of the ridge, one cluster of puff stitches in the middle of each square, and in the corners I made the cluster, the 3 puff stitch cluster, into the corner space. And then I thought, cool, I'm done. But then I decided to add another round of slip stitch into all back loops, and so I did it. I don't know how, and I have no explanation, but and then I break the yarn and I thought I'm done, but then I thought I want to try and add something, another detail. And I just felt it needs like an answer for those popcorn stitches. And at first I thought, okay, the answer is the puff stitches, but it didn't look balanced enough for me. I thought it needs more of interest, and to be honest, I was very much inspired by my childhood chair, the one that I used to have in my parents' house as a child, the chair that I had next to my desk. And my mom was a big fan of antique furnitures and French antique furnitures, and my chair was one of them. And I was really, really inspired by the head of the back of this chair. And I thought maybe I can create something in this kind of like vintage vibes. So I decided to go on and make another round, which will be mainly slip stitch into the back loop of each stitch from the previous round, which is not easy to make. But then I also added a popcorn stitch into the stitch on top of the center puff stitch on top of the cluster, the center of the cluster. Oh my goodness, I'm trying so hard to not overcomplicate it, because it is very simple. I just made a popcorn stitch made out of 5 double crochet stitches on top of the second of the middle puff stitch. And then I was happy. I was so happy because something else started to show up that I didn't expect it to happen. And this is this curving line between each of the popcorns. Can you see what I'm talking about? And this creates exactly what I wanted to create. So it creates something like a vintage edging. Where is this is the side. A vintage edging to my soft row, summit row. So you can clearly see that this curved line of arches between the popcorn stitches. This makes me feel like this made me satisfied, if this is the right way to say it. I was satisfied. Now I said, okay, done. And in the corners, I made 3 popcorn stitches instead of 1. So you have this extra like corners appearance. And let me show it to you in full size. I took some footage for you from the bed because it's very hard to show on camera, to show blankets and throws on camera, but I will try. Let's take this chair backwards and try to show it to you. But this is the full blanket. And you guys, I am so happy with it. and I am so in love with it. And this is exactly what I wanted to have on our new bed. And now that we have our bed, the new bed installed, and it wasn't planned, but it's like meant to be, that on the day that Eyal was building our new bed, I finished the blocking of my soft row summit row. And you remember I had a stain that at first I thought it's a coffee, but it didn't smell as a coffee, and until today I don't know what kind of stain was it and where did it come from. But eventually I could take it out with a stain remover that I have here, and I popped it in the washing machine and I blocked it, and it was ready and spread on our bed on the day it was installed. So it was so exciting for me. And then when I looked in my photo gallery, to take all the notes and to share everything with you, I found out that it took me exactly a year to finish this soft row summit row. And so it was a labor of love. I am very, very excited with this project, and that it is finished, and that it is part of my 24 making journal now. And yeah, I think this is it. I hope I didn't forget anything to share with you. I hope you have all the answers for all your questions, because you had so many questions regarding this summit row. And now it is all in my journal, and I usually I like to print one picture, but in this case I had to print a general look picture on the new bed, and I also wanted to take like a detailed picture of the framing, because I think this summit row I think the border on this row is really a very special kind of like crochet work. I'm very proud of it. I have not made a decision yet if I will write it down or as a pattern or not, or just share it here as I shared all the details, but I will decide on it later. For now I didn't make any decision. I'm not sure I have the time for pattern writing now, when I'm so busy developing my new designs for the upcoming retreat with mYak in 25, so we shall see. Anyways, I'm very happy I have now a dedicated vlog with all the details that I can refer. Future followers, future questions, I can refer. Give one link with all the information about this soft rose summit row. And yeah, I think this is it, guys. I'm very curious to hear what do you think about it. And I'm not sure what do you think if you would go and make it like with multicolors, or I don't know, but for me, I think it's made to be out of one solid color, because the texture, the interest is all in the textures and in the stitches, and it gives it the full stage is for the textures and the stitches. And I think it can work pretty lovely with many kinds of wool. So I guess if you would like to go for a DK wool or for cotton, sport weight cotton, I think it will make a beautiful soft rose throw blanket. So yeah, I think this is it for this segment. So this is how the place looked just a few minutes after I finished recording the last segment. Things got just too noisy and too messy around here to take you along for the coconut balls making, so I guess that will have to wait for another time. I think I will wrap up today's video here. I guess I will be busy cleaning and organizing here, but I will leave you with some extra footage that I took for you of the soft rose summer throw and my French antique childhood chair, which made me miss my mom so much but made my heart sing.